trapped in 2014. My world hasn't updated. It started subtly, a weird sense of déjà vu so strong it felt like I was reliving moments. November 12, 2014. That was the day I started counting. The first clue was the radio. I woke up to Shake It Off by Taylor Swift. Again. I'd heard it a million times before, but this time it felt different. Like a needle skipping on a record, the same 5 seconds looping endlessly. I dismissed it as my brain being foggy, grabbed a coffee, and headed to work. At work, Mark, my best friend, was cracking the same joke about his fantasy football team tanking. Word for word, the same joke he made last week, and the week before. I even remembered my response. I delivered it perfectly, and he laughed exactly when and how I expected. It was unsettling. That night, Sarah, my girlfriend, wanted to order pizza. "Let's get pepperoni and mushrooms from Sal's," she said, like she always did. She always wanted Sal's pepperoni and mushrooms. It was our thing. But the way she said it, the exact intonation, the little head tilt, it was a recording playing back. I tried to shake it off. Everyone has routines. People are creatures of habit. But over the next few days, the coincidences piled up. News reports replayed verbatim. The same cashier at the deli made the same comment about the weather. Even the homeless guy on the corner was spouting the same apocalyptic warnings. My phone was the next piece of the puzzle. I tried to download a new app, something I knew had been released in 2018. It didn't exist. The App Store was stuck in 2014. The software updates wouldn't run. My brand new iPhone 6 felt like a museum piece.
"Maybe it's just your phone,"
Sarah said when I nervously explained my theory. She laughed, a beautiful, carefree sound that I suddenly realized I hadn't heard change in days.
"You're always paranoid about technology."
But it wasn't just my phone. I went to the Apple Store. Every device was running outdated software. The employees were talking about the iPhone 6 like it was the pinnacle of innovation. I asked about newer models. Blank stares. That night, I started researching. Mandela Effect. Déjà vu. Temporal anomalies. I devoured every article, every forum post, clinging to the hope that someone else, somewhere, was experiencing the same thing. I found a few threads filled with rambling theories and tinfoil hat conspiracies. Most were dismissed as mental illness. I started to wonder if they were right. I tried to explain it to Mark. We were at our usual bar, O'Malley's, watching a rerun of Monday Night Football. "Dude, listen," I said, my voice trembling slightly. "I think we're stuck. Like, time is stuck. It's November 2014, and it's not moving forward." Mark choked on his beer. "Ethan, are you okay? You look like you haven't slept in days." "I haven't, Mark. Think about it. The news, the music, everything is repeating. I can predict what people are going to say before they say it." He laughed. "Okay, Nostradamus, maybe you just need to lay off the caffeine." I knew he wouldn't believe me. I tried to prove it. I told him the exact score of the football game before it happened. I recited lines from a movie we were watching before the actors said them. He just looked at me with concern. "Ethan," he said, putting a hand on my shoulder, "maybe you should talk to someone." "Seriously?" Sarah was more worried. She saw the exhaustion in my eyes, the frantic energy that vibrated off me. "You're scaring me," she said one night, tears welling up. "You're not sleeping, you're barely eating, and you keep talking about this time loop." I tried to explain to make her understand. I told her about future events, things that hadn't happened yet in 2014. Political upheavals, technological breakthroughs, even celebrity deaths. She listened patiently, but her eyes were filled with doubt and fear. "I think you need help, Ethan," she whispered. So, I went. Dr. Albright's office was sterile and cold. He listened to my story with a detached, professional interest. He asked questions about my childhood, my stress levels, my sleep patterns. "It sounds like you're experiencing a form of delusional disorder," he said finally. "A fixed false belief that is not amenable to change, even when presented with contradictory evidence." I wanted to scream. But it's not a delusion. It's real. I can prove it. He prescribed me anti-anxiety medication and scheduled a follow-up appointment. I threw the pills in the trash on the way home. They wouldn't fix anything. I started experimenting. If I was trapped, maybe I could break the cycle. I tried changing my routine, taking different routes to work, ordering different food, saying different things. But the world recalibrated. Events shifted slightly, then snapped back into place, like a rubber band stretched too far. One day, I decided to make a big change. I walked into a local bank and calmly predicted the exact closing price of a specific stock, a price that wouldn't be reached until 2017. I even wrote it down and handed it to the teller. The teller, a middle-aged woman named Carol, just smiled politely. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to step away from the window." The next day, the stock closed at the predicted price. I went back to the bank, eager to see the reaction. Carol was there, but she didn't recognize me. When I mentioned the prediction, she looked confused. "Sir, I think you have the wrong bank," she said. That's when Officer Miller showed up. He questioned me about my behavior at the bank, about the disturbing the peace complaint. He looked at me with suspicion, like I was some kind of con artist or a crazy person. I tried to explain about the time loop, but he just shook his head. "Mr. Davies," he said, his voice firm. "I understand you're going through a difficult time, but I'm going to have to ask you to refrain from making any further disruptions." The internet became my only refuge. I found a small online forum dedicated to strange phenomena. People shared stories about glitches in reality, repeating events, and feelings of being out of sync. I cautiously posted my own experience. Most dismissed me as a troll, but a few seemed to understand. One user, going by the handle Kronos, sent me a private message. "I know what you're going through," he wrote. "I've been stuck for years." We exchanged messages for hours. Kronos described similar experiences, the repeating events, the recalibrating world. He believed that a specific quantum event in late 2014 had caused the anomaly, a ripple in the fabric of space-time. He warned me not to try to change things too drastically. "The world will fight back," he wrote. "It doesn't want to be changed." He also mentioned something about anchors, specific people or objects that kept the loop stable. He didn't know what they were, but he believed they were key to breaking free. I started looking for anchors. Was it Sarah? Mark? O'Malley's bar? My apartment? I observed everything, searching for patterns, for connections. My relationship with Sarah was crumbling. She couldn't understand what I was going through, and I couldn't explain it in a way that made sense. The vibrant, carefree woman I loved was slowly fading away, replaced by a worried, anxious version of herself. One night, she confronted me. "I can't do this anymore, Ethan," she said, her voice breaking. "I love you, but I can't live like this. I need you to get help. Real help." I looked at her, at the pain in her eyes, and I realized I was losing her. The anchor I was desperately trying to find was slipping away. Desperate, I decided to take a drastic step. I remembered something Kronos had said about quantum events. There was a particle physics experiment scheduled at CERN in late November 2014, an experiment that was rumored to have caused some minor glitches. I decided to go to CERN. I know it sounded crazy, but I felt like it was my only chance. I booked a flight to Geneva, telling Sarah I was going on a business trip. At the airport, I saw two men in dark suits watching me. They kept their distance, but their eyes followed my every move. I felt a chill run down my spine. Were they government agents? Were they trying to stop me? I made it to Geneva without incident. I rented a car and drove to CERN. The facility was massive, a labyrinth of tunnels and buildings. I snuck past security, using my software skills to bypass the electronic locks. I found the control room for the experiment. Technicians were monitoring the equipment, preparing for the next test. I knew I had to do something, anything, to disrupt the experiment. I grabbed a fire extinguisher and smashed it against a control panel. Alarms blared. Technicians screamed. The two men in dark suits burst into the room. They grabbed me and dragged me out of the facility. They didn't say a word, but their eyes were cold and menacing. They drove me to a remote location, a nondescript building in the middle of nowhere. Inside, I was interrogated by a woman who identified herself as Agent Davies. No relation, she assured me. She asked me about my knowledge of the experiment, about Kronos, about the time loop. I told her everything. I laid it all out. The repeating events, the recalibrating world, the desperation that had driven me to this point. She listened patiently, her expression unreadable. When I was finished, she leaned forward. "Mr. Davies," she said, her voice calm and measured, "what you're experiencing is unusual. We're aware of certain anomalies, and we're working to contain them." She offered me a deal. If I cooperated, if I agreed to keep quiet and return to my normal life, they would ensure that I received the best possible care. They would help me forget what I had experienced. I looked at her, at the cold, calculating look in her eyes, and I knew I couldn't trust her. They weren't trying to help me. They were trying to control me, to erase my memory, to keep the truth hidden. I refused. They released me, but I knew they were watching me. I returned to my apartment, to Sarah, to the repeating cycle of November 2014. But something had changed. The loop wasn't as perfect as it had been before. There were glitches, small inconsistencies like cracks in a mirror. The news reports were slightly different. The music was a little off-key. People's conversations drifted from their usual scripts. I don't know if I broke the loop, or if the loop is slowly breaking itself. All I know is that things are different, and I'm terrified of what's coming next. Sarah eventually left. She couldn't handle the offness of everything, she said. I don't blame her. I barely can. I sometimes see glimpses of other people, people who seem to notice the glitches, people who look at me with a knowing glance. Are they trapped too? Are they fighting their own battles with reality? I keep searching for answers, for a way to fix what's broken. But I'm starting to realize that maybe there is no fix. Maybe this is my new reality. A world stuck in 2014, forever repeating, forever broken. And sometimes, late at night, when the world is quiet and still, I hear the faint sound of a needle skipping on a record, playing the same 5 seconds over and over again. And I know that I'm not alone.